So you actually didn't start with breaking.
No, 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 no.
What kind of dances were you doing before?
I'd like to say popping, but I'm not quite sure if that's what that was, you know.
No, that
And
it.
again, too, because I say that too because as we go on, like we learn so much, you
Mm.
know, through research and conversations and all this kind of stuff.
So you're coming up in New Jersey in the '90s,
Yep.
right? And anybody who's watched any kind of urban cinema know that '90s New Jersey was a wild time.
I got hooked up tonight, son. Tonight. Tonight. Yo, you my man or what?
Me and Midget, we were restless, just burning to catch up on something.
Yo! Why don't you come take a ride with me?
I ain't getting in no stolen car, doing
That
no
ain't no
donuts or whatever
stolen
y'all.
car, nah.
So what we did was take rides.
What's up, baby? What up, kid?
Even if it was a BMW, a Camry, if it was a Lexus, Benz, it was all good.
My man was like, blood out. Shit funny to you, right?
Midget was always taking it to the limit.
Yeah, it is right there, kid. Oh, no. Get on the speaker, get on the speaker, gang.
All right, pal, pull it over. You guys in a whole heap of trouble. You driver, step away from the car, please. Okay, you have the right to be stupid and...
And it seemed like I was always the one paying the price.
Right, we're talking
Depending on where you were at, yeah.
right,
Sure.
depending on where you at, and so we talking like New Jersey Drive, right?
Yes, that was that era.
Right. Was this going down where you were, or was this like more in the bigger cities?
My mom was really keen on keeping us out of certain areas, right? Well, to give you a little backstory, my father's from the Bronx, my mom's from Brooklyn. By the time they had my sister, who was 2 years older than me, they moved us to New Jersey. Then my parents split. So it was left up to my mom to kind of do what she had to do. And she moved us around a lot. So we were in Passaic, we were in Garfield, we were in Clifton. We just moved around. She tried to avoid Newark, you know. Newark was, you know, still Newark.
We're going to turn now to that wild day in Newark. The suspect held up a van driver at gunpoint. Then he stole the car. The wild chase ended with police in a crash.
And the gun used in the robbery found in the car, according to police. The suspect somehow ends up underneath a cop car.
The arrest caught on body cam video you will see only on Eyewitness News. New Jersey reporter Anthony Johnson is live this evening at the scene in Newark. Anthony?
I mean,
Right.
it hasn't really changed much. Trenton, New Jersey is the same. You know, I'm just saying more based on the reputation that these cities have.
Right.
You know, Camden, probably #1 pretty bad city to be in New Jersey. But that's more south. That's more closer to Philadelphia, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, I wasn't in a bad neighborhood where a lot of things really happened like that. But I definitely witnessed a lot of stuff. It's basically right around the corner. The next town is not that far away. You know, Clifton is surrounded by Passaic and Patterson, which were, you know, two neighborhoods that, you know, we tried to stay out of because there was a lot of stuff going on there. But, you know, most of the time I avoided a lot of that stuff.
No doubt. And so then you're you know, you're progressing in the dance. You guys are, you know, mostly going to events in New York, right?
That's where they were at. Yeah, for sure.
No doubt. So when do you transition from your original crew into Rocksteady Crew?
Not till way later.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I met Rocksteady pretty early, so this is like 96, end of 96.
Okay.
Was already hanging with legs in them. So I was like a prospect for Rocksteady, but I didn't get put down till like '05.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dang. So what, like, I tried to ask Shadow what the process was, but but he was just like, you know, well, I just started practicing and you know, I got in. What was your
over time, you know? Yeah. for
right.
sure. Yeah.
Right. So what was your process?
Well, shit, I had 10 years of hanging out already, you know.
Wow.
I think what it was is it depended on who Legs was also looking at in terms of prospect at the time, right? So when you started moving into the 2000s, well, when Rocksteady started moving into the 2000s, there was like this shift of perspective, I think, on how things are moving just in the world in general, and what is breaking doing, what is Rocksteady doing in relationship to breaking. They're getting older, which was unheard of, right? I mean, to be in your 30s and breaking, like, I never thought I'd be over the age of 25 breaking. Like, we were still in that mentality in the 90s.
Right.
Like, you do this for a couple of years and you do something else, you know, when you get older. So, you know, everything was like wasn't done the same way it was back in the day, because people were different too. So it's like the tough love doesn't work for everybody. When we started like recruiting people out in Arizona, you can't treat someone in Arizona the same way you treat somebody in New York. You know, we even talk so differently. It's even our conversation sometimes is a little bit, you know what I mean?
Side note,
because the culture's different. So
right. Side note. The first time I went to New York, I'm just thinking of, because you're talking about the way that they talk to each other. I remember the bus driver talking to a person. I was going from the airport to wherever we were staying, and I was just on the bus, and I thought the bus driver was just so disrespectful. But I come to learn, no, he wasn't. He was just having a regular New Yorker conversation, and I was wondering why the person didn't get offended. You know what I'm saying? I was like, you just gonna let, I'm in my mind, I'm like, you just gonna let him talk to you like that? But,
yeah,
you know, in their mind, they're just like, this is just what it is, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, sorry about that.
No, you're right though. I mean, that's what it is. It's different. Like
Right.
I had talked to my mom, and you know, if I would bring a friend over, for example, that's from Arizona to my house, they'd probably be like, yo, your mom's wild. I'm like, no, that's just my mom. That's how she talks. You know, it's what it is.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up around that. I'm used to it. I obviously had to unlearn a lot of stuff, especially when I started moving around. When I moved out, you know, west, it was a little bit hard for me to adapt at first, and my communication wasn't very good. I think people thought I was really standoffish and that type of stuff. And I realized through traveling and moving that you know, I had to understand that I'm coming from a particular mindset, and in order for me to communicate, I had to, in a way, break out of that or learn what that was versus, you know, the environment I'm in now. So it's interesting.
So let's go before you're in Rocksteady. Even, you know, what were some of the more, when you were prospecting, what were some of the like the memorable battles when you were getting down and kind of like prospecting with Rocksteady?
Well, most of the battling happened in two places. So, and it's mostly at those two events that I mentioned. So you had Rocksteady Anniversary, and Rocksteady Anniversary had a smaller event that kind of led up to that called Break Beats.
Okay.
Right? And that was in the Bronx. Jiggs probably talked about this in his interview too. That was like a main meetup spot for all of us. That was in Hunts Point in the Bronx. That's really where I got my understanding of breaking from, that place. I used to go there a lot. That's where I met Legs and the rest of Rocksteady pretty much at that time. But there started to be battles there. And a lot of the beef would happen between Rocksteady and a lot of the younger generation crews from New York. So not so much Supreme Team, but Break's crew used to battle Rocksteady all the time. They had some kind of issues all the time. They would argue and battle.
Introduce it first. On my left-hand side, Break Fiends. Give it up for them, y'all. Come on, show them some love. From right to left, Too Sweet, Whack, Alberto, Chino, and my man Lil Dave, also known as Cypher. Okay, now, I need a little slack over here. Well, we are definitely gonna be on some rah-rah shit in a minute. Don't worry about it. Word, hey. Anyway, the reason for the last minute entry was because basically, who saw The Godfather Part 3? Remember when Al Pacino says, every time you get out the fucking business, somebody want to try to fuck with you? Not in those words, but that's how I feel right now. I'm basically a retired B-boy. I stopped battling, okay? And, you know, shit's been taught by Chino. Then, I have people... Then, check it out. It's amazing. He hasn't even done a move yet. You got him winning. Check it out. Now, who said that I got people doing my dirty work? Okay, one thing you gotta understand. Crew is crew, but Rocksteady is family. Okay? Right? We got 22 years of history right here. Okay? Put inside these motherfuckers right here. So, this will be my last crew battle. Okay? And I'm just doing this for the hell of it. Okay? So no one can ever pop shit again. But on another level, the way you guys disrespected me, I hope you'll never disrespect another pioneer like that, because no pioneer ever deserves that shit. Okay? I'm in Little Davis cool. Alright? Little Davis cool. But, you know what? Fuck all the bullshit. Let's get it going. Y'all challenged us, y'all go first. Alright?
You had other crews that were just, you know, trying to get in the mix. So you had like Problems crew, like, I mean, everyone had their thing, and they would have some sort of rivalry between each other, you know.
Right.
Then it was also talking about states. So it's like if New Jersey walked in, everyone from New York was like, Jersey's in the building, here we go, boom, argument, battle. You know. It was happening like that pretty often. And then the other battles would happen at Zulu Anniversary, but those were a little bit more based on, like, a lot of the heavy hitters will get into it at the Zulu Anniversary. But there were other events that started popping up later in the 90s. You had, man, if I can remember, I think it was called Back to Mecca. That was an event that happened in the Bronx. New York City Breakers, so Speedy would be throwing a couple events from time to time. So little things started popping up. But it seemed like the more events that we had, the more and more battles you saw. And when I got older, I started turning 17, 18, then I started being able to go to Speed, go to Wetlands. Those are the clubs that we would go to and break. You know, we knew to go there and break, it wasn't necessarily catered to, you know, even hip-hop. I mean, Speed was just like, I don't know, EDM music, like, or at that time they called it jungle, I think, right? So it was sped up breakbeats. I mean, them shits were so fast, like I was trying to catch up. And I actually, like, you know, I break normally fairly fast. So, like, a lot of that comes from the sped up music we were breaking to when I was younger, too. I realized that after some time, that's possibly why I was, like, trying to keep up with certain beats and shit.
Right,
like that.
right.
Yeah. There was always that divide, that argument. I mean, even if you came over to the West Coast, even if you were from the West Coast and you approached breaking in a certain way, you know, there were people on the West Coast that were like, yo, why are you trying to break like New York?
For more quality content from Beyond the Cypher with Illskillz, don't forget to press the like and subscribe buttons. Let us know how we're doing down in the comment section. And to make sure you don't miss anything from the channel, go ahead and smash that notification bell. We appreciate the love and support so far. So peace until the next episode. Bam, 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 bam.